So, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is finally out, but before you head into the vast lands of Bohemia, you might want to prepare accordingly because you see, KCD 2 can be a brutal experience, especially so at the start of the game. Now, while I would suggest that you dive into the game head first, chances are you might feel lost or stuck as a new player, and so to help some of you newcomers out, here are some tips, tricks, and other valuable information to get you started. By the way, feel free to add any of your own tips to this list in the comments below to help out any newcomers. So first of all, when you first head into the starter town, Troskowitz, Henry is going to be pretty strapped for cash, and because it's pretty risky to explore the region without any starting equipment, a good idea here is to, and I mean this seriously, pick some flowers. Then head on over to the alchemy table in the starting area and start brewing. Not only will you be leveling up your alchemy skill, but as there is a vendor just across the street, you can just sell off a bunch of potions here. A good potion to brew is the Artemisia potion, which you can find a recipe for right next to the alchemy table, and the ingredients can be found at the border of Troskowitz, as well as just outside the alchemy hut. Don't forget to haggle when selling your potions. While we're still talking about alchemy, remember that you can use your torch to light up your environment before using the alchemy table, as these stations are almost always located in some dark corner, and I'm still kicking myself for not doing this earlier. Now, if you don't have any qualms about stealing, you can always start off by entering people's houses at night and steal all their valuables. And while this can be a good way to make money, it's also quite risky, as if you get caught, not only do you have the risk of getting branded as a criminal, but if you get caught too many times, you may end up getting executed. No, that's not a joke. But if you're set on your path to becoming a career criminal, you'll first need lockpicks, so head on over to the street beggar Bara, and if you ask her where to find clothes, she will provide you with a lockpick. Now, instead of using it right away, I'd suggest heading to Miller Krazel, who you can find over here in Semien. Now, it's quite the road to travel on foot, but once you get there, the Miller provides you with several more lockpicks, and he'll let you practice using lockpicks on a chest. You can practice your lockpicking skill on this chest up until you reach level 10 in skill, so make sure you use this opportunity before breaking into people's houses. Also, one of the workers at the mill teaches you how to pickpocket, and you can practice on him as well before doing the real thing. Now, while you're still in Semien, you'll run into a surprise if you visit the stables next to the fort, as in the pasture with the other horses you will find Pebbles, Henry's loyal steed. So if you want the free horse, then you just need to convince Balate, the horse trader, and should you fail with that, you can always steal her during the night. Then again, it's better to just convince him, as he gives you some equipment for your horse for free. That brings us to a general gameplay tip, because as much as I adore Henry's horse, Pebbles, make sure you upgrade to a better horse as soon as you can, as the quality of horse also decides how much it can carry, how much stamina it has, and so on. Equipping your horse with higher quality saddles and horseshoes also makes your horse able to carry more stuff for you, and better horseshoes increases your horse's speed. Now, if you're planning on playing as a criminal, you can also steal horses and sell them for a pretty big profit. You can find the horse trader Mikolai in the gypsy camp, which is located to the west of Bojena. Mikolai deals in black market horses, so if you find a high value horse you want to sell, you can bring it to him, and as far as I can tell, there is no limit to how many horses you can sell to him. If you want to earn some quick coin, head on over to the bandit camp to the northwest of the gypsy camp, and there you will find 2 horses ready to be stolen at a moment's notice. One of them is pretty valuable, so I'd suggest selling at least this one. You can also choose to keep a horse that you steal by talking to Mikolai, but be prepared to pay a fee if you want to keep it. Okay, so now that you finally have a horse, I'd suggest training your combat skills. For melee, you can head on over to Master Tomcat, whom you can also find in the gypsy camp. Master Tomcat acts like KCD2's version of Bernard from the first game. That is to say, he's not only someone you can spar with freely to level up your combat skills, but he also teaches you the Master Strike. However, in order for him to teach you this ultimate move of sorts, you first have to beat him in a duel, which is much easier said than done. Now, one way to do this is to simply play defensively and only strike him after he attacks, as he has a tendency to use the Master Strike on you if you play too aggressively. Before you even try to attempt to do that though, I'd suggest sparring against him for at least a real-life hour or so. Yes, I know that might sound like a lot, but trust me, you'll thank me later. Now, it has to be mentioned that you can only perform Master Strikes with swords and long swords. You cannot Master Strike with axes, hammers, or halberds. So if these are going to be your main weapons, I'm afraid you're just going to have to keep swinging wildly. One tip to go with this though is to always have a shield together with axes and hammers. Now this might be a no-brainer to some of you, but if it isn't, well, these weapons are not designed for parrying and blocking as their handles are made of wood. So they break more quickly, meaning you'll have to repair your weapon more often. Another really important combat tip here is to remember that you can grapple your enemies to get some good hits in. You simply push into them, which sounds vaguely dirty, but you'll most likely succeed in either grappling or clinching them, and there are perks that increase your chances of winning in a clinch. When you're doing this, you can perform various special moves like throwing them to the ground or smacking them in the face with your shield and so on, which does more damage than a regular hit. So remember, use grappling and clinching a lot. In any case, if you're having trouble with Master Tomcat, or if by some chance you manage to beat him and learn to use Master Strike, you can then head over to the Huntsman's son, Vivek, located in the north of Trotsky. Vivek can set up archery competitions, and you can select between 3 different difficulties where you face off against other archers of varying skill levels, and you put in some money each time to compete for the chance of winning even more money. If you're just starting out, I'd suggest practicing against less skilled archers first and stopping at intermediate difficulty, as not only are you going to increase your skill levels rather effectively here, you're also going to earn a nice bit of coin since the first 2 difficulties are actually really easy. I'd suggest skipping the hardest difficulty though, as even if you make more money if you win, there's a pretty big chance that you'll start losing a lot of money since the NPCs are really quick with their draw here. In any case, you can compete with a crossbow as well, so if that's something you'd prefer leveling up, then you can do that instead. Now at some point you're going to want to aim those arrows at a live target, and considering that Henry has a constant need to eat, now might be a good time to hunt. One thing to keep in mind in KCD 2 though is that at least in the early game, hunting is prohibited, meaning that if a guard catches you with fresh meat from a deer or a pig that you butchered, then well, they'll confiscate the meat and punish you for it. One way around this is that immediately after gathering meat, you can head to a drying rack and dry all the meat. This removes the stolen status as it converts to a new item. And if you want an easy way to keep Henry properly fed throughout the game, you'll only have to catch a few deer or so and dry their meats, then store the food on your horse for easy access. I only hunted a couple of animals in my first run, and that lasted me throughout most of the game, so it's very little work for a lot of reward. Another general tip here is to make sure to forge your own weapons if you can. Not only will you be saving money by doing so, but top quality weapons that you craft will be even better and do even more damage if you have a certain perk. Speaking of which, if you're on the hunt for weapon recipes, you'll find these at various vendors throughout Trotsky and Kuttenberg. Some recipes are locked behind special quests and such, so remember, take your time with the game and remember to do all the side quests you find, because sometimes the reward is pretty substantial. And so finally, when you're blacksmithing, make sure to charge your hammer swings. The game tells you this early on, but there really is a marked difference between your swings. While it might seem like you get finished faster by swinging the hammer more rapidly, you will also tire out much more quickly, resulting in Henry having to catch his breath. Meanwhile, heavy swings lets your stamina bar recuperate a little between each swing, so I'd suggest taking your time like this at the start of the game. As Henry gets more skilled with blacksmithing and as he gets higher vitality, hammering more quickly will become more effective down the line. Anyway, that's gonna have to do it for today. I'll be making more videos like this in the upcoming month, as well as for Monster Hunter Wilds arriving in March, so if that's any interest to you, then remember to subscribe. This has been Mr. Holton, signing off.
I feel quite hungry!